Hello, folks. President Cyril Ramaphosa responding to reporters just a short while ago regarding the Solidarity Movement's visit to the United States. Let's listen in and see what President Cyril Ramaphosa has to say about that visit and South African government's response.
Well, I do believe, I've heard that AfriForum and Solidarity have met representatives in the U.S. government. And they're doing precisely what we said we as South Africans should not do. We should stop running to other countries. We should discuss our own problems here.
We should stop running to other countries. We should discuss our own problems here. I'm sorry, did I imagine the State of the Nation address when President Ramaphosa talked about dispatching diplomatic teams around the world to get South Africa's message out about how EWC wasn't nil compensation? It didn't mean zero. He specifically mentioned sending teams to Tanzania and to France to influence those countries to lobby the U.S. to not take action against South Africa. So running to other countries to influence South Africa, isn't that what you've been doing? And didn't you send a team, or at least you claimed, Ronnie Lamola said you sent a team to the United States to engage with the Trump administration to lobby the United States? Why are you running to other nations, Cyril? Taking care of stuff internally yourself, the 650, 700,000 public responses to the expropriation without compensation bill, over 90+% of them from black, white, and brown South Africans opposed to expropriation without compensation, yet you signed it into law after sitting on it for months. So what is this solving things yourselves inside the country, Mr. Ramaphosa? It seems to be quite the opposite of what you actually do. Yeah, you say one thing and you do something very different.
And find solutions. And that in many ways confirms our own sovereignty. It confirms our standing as a free and independent nation.
Nobody's questioning your standing, your sovereignty, your right to sovereignty. Not at all. But you're questioning America's right to sovereignty. Complaining that America's sanctioning you when no sanctions have been leveled at all. This is a typical Zimbabwe scenario of lying about non-existent sanctions. There are no sanctions. You are interfering in our sovereignty by being upset that we are no longer going to give handouts, $500 million a year. That's not your money. It's our tax money. And quite frankly, we don't have it. So we borrow it so that our grandchildren pay off a debt with interest, which 2 and 3 times we borrowed, so that you can get money to take care of the people with HIV and for trade and for gender-based violence when that's your responsibility. If you want to be a sovereign nation, step up and be sovereign and solve these problems internally. Is that a fair thing? I think it's fair. Cyril, what else do you have to tell us here?
Nation that can stand proud amongst many other nations and being able to say, we can solve our own problems. We may differ here, but we will find solutions to whatever problems we have.
We will find solutions to whatever problem we have. Really? So let me ask you this question. I'm a little confused. Why did you sign the expropriation without compensation bill on the 20th of December privately? Then why did you violate the Constitution and sit on it for 35 days? The Constitution requires that you announce it promptly, which gives opposition members of Parliament an opportunity, if they disagree with it, to cobble together a third of the votes in Parliament to take it to the Constitutional Court. But you waited 35 days. After 30 days, it's in effect. There's nothing that can be done. So find solutions. You don't sound like you want solutions. It sounds like you want to ramrod things through society, ignoring all the public comments on Bella opposed to it, or ignoring all the comments opposed to EWC, and yet you still enacted it. A little confusing what you have to say here, Cyril.
We have the wherewithal to be able to do that. So I would say we stay here, we solve our problems here, and we embrace one another, and we build a nation. We will never be able to build a nation by just going to complain to other nations.
We will never be able to build a nation by going to complain to other nations. So why dispatch teams to Tanzania, France, and a host of other countries to lobby them to lobby the U.S.? I'm a little confused. What exactly are you talking about there? Seems strange. Also seems rather hypocritical what you've got to say there. We will build the nation. Well, You don't engage with these actors. You did engage on Bella with AfriForum, but when it came to EWC, you signed it in the dark of night and waited 35 days to publicly announce it at Davos after you told the world that South Africa is open for business. Except it's not open for business, is it, Cyril? No. Hypocrisy. Thy name is Cyril. I think a lot of people accuse you of that, brother. Let's see what the president has to say beyond this.
Well, there are people who are saying that, something needs to be done to them and all that. And I would say that we need to be sending a clear message to them that as far as we are concerned, as proud South Africans, we prefer that we should all stay here and solve our problems. And already what they are doing has spawned divisions in our nation. And that is not a nation-building process of running around the world to try and have your problems solved. You are just solving divisions.
That is not a nation-solving process, a nation-building process by running around the world. Folks, did you watch the State of the Nation address that I watched? Why is Cyril Ramaphosa panically calling Elon Musk, which, by the way, isn't the Vienna Conventions? You don't call a private citizen or member of a government bureaucracy. You go through the embassy with a diplomatic note. Yeah, Elon, can you stop this from happening? And then they complain about the U.S. being undiplomatic by not giving them a copy of the executive order, which is none of the South African government's business. It would have been a nice courtesy, and if I'd been the ambassador, I would have pushed to make sure that we delivered that so that South African government would not be caught off guard. But there's no obligation. We don't do nation building by running to other countries. Really? Really? President Ramaphosa, that's exactly what you just told the world you were doing and were going to do to change America's view on South Africa. Wow. You just can't make this stuff up, folks. And notice here that the reporter's trying to get him to say that they're going to arrest or punish AfriForum in solidarity. Of course, Cyril Ramaphosa knows that they've done nothing illegal, despite the social media uproar. They've done nothing inappropriate or wrong. They've done what any other lobbying group has done, coming to Washington, going to London, going to Paris, going to Berlin to get a change for trade or to get a change in policy that's beneficial. And in fact, AfriForum has done more to repair the relationship with South Africa than the government of South Africa is doing. AfriForum asked them not to cancel the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. The ANC hasn't done that. The ANC has violated the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act by passing expropriation without compensation, which is a clear violation of the key tenets of AGOA. And so AfriForum is actually working on behalf of South Africans, black, white, and brown, but apparently not the government of South Africa, who are sending teams around the world to influence America. But we don't solve those problems by doing that, by running around the world. So says Cyril as he sends people running around the world.
Now, a number of South Africans then start looking at others negatively. And I don't think that is the right way to handle our problems.
And other South Africans start looking at South Africans negatively. Well, you've been fueling this. The economic freedom fighters, the ANC have been fueling this racial narrative for years. And you're reaping the results of that. Their actions are on behalf of all South Africans. The fact that the media is in the pocket of politicians and shares their false narrative about what these people are doing in the States is unfortunate. And if it fuels the flames of racial discord, that's not the fault of the people who are looking out for the interests of South Africans, which clearly are not the people in charge. What say you, South Africa? Wow. We don't solve problems by running around the world. We fix them here at home, except you ignore domestic constituencies and you roll over, ramrod your policies that are wildly unpopular. Cheers, folks.